Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your overly caffeinated host, Tony Cañas, pitching the fourth in a four-hitter night. So 4 podcast recordings today, one after the other. Save the best for last. Today, and this is the last thing separating me. I'm guessing a man who is in California has half a day of meetings left yet. But for me, this is the last thing separating me from going and celebrating Memorial Day weekend and my 12-year anniversary with my girlfriend.
Wow.
But yeah, save the best for last. Today I have with me Aman Gour, Aman Gour, co-founder and CEO at FurtherAI. Aman, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Thank you for having me, Tony. Like you mentioned about over-caffeinated host, there's over-caffeinated guest as well. So I'm
Oh,
on my fifth shot already.
given that I mostly interview startup founders,
Yeah.
over the caffeinated is probably the description for just about all of you guys. Uh, because I mean, you work 10,000 hats and have to raise funds,
Yeah.
run a
Yeah. I think that's
company,
how
and
life looks like without caffeine. So I have no idea how that turns out to be.
absolutely. I'm originally from Costa Rica, and I should be sponsored by the Costa Rican Chamber of Commerce and Coffee Growers, because of how much I push their product. Uh, so
Awesome.
so San Francisco. Assuming you're home,
Yeah.
I'm assuming the weather on May 23rd is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, yeah. It like we're just in front of the giant stadium. And let me show that right. There you go.
Perfect.
So look at that.
Oh, you live literally next door to the stadium.
Yeah. It's in front of it.
That is fantastic. So what I heard is that you guys will eventually have a suite uh to take clients and podcasters to the game.
Yeah,
Uh
absolutely. We might
Fantastic.
already have a suite, Tony.
We have to make that happen. Absolutely. I
Let's
love
do
San
that.
Francisco. Uh
Yeah.
so man, we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
What is Further AI?
So thank you so much for having me, Tony, and also congratulations on the 12th
Thank you.
anniversary. I hope you guys get a good weekend to celebrate.
Thank you.
But quick intro about FurtherAI. FurtherAI is an AI platform focused solely on insurance. We are born in AI and for insurance. Think of it like ChatGPT for insurance, but it can now automate complex workflows, complex end-to-end workflows, ranging from submissions processing to policy comparison to underwriting audit to claims intake and many more. Uh, we are that one place where you can use really AI to not just get efficiencies, operational efficiencies, but to unlock things that were not possible before. So we work with a lot of leading insurers, reinsurers, brokers, MGAs and MGUs. So we work across the value chain, cross functions, and have been having a phenomenal time working with the insurance industry, especially given the fact that I have no FN experience. I had no FN experience in insurance, but the industry has been sort of really kind to us.
So I always like to relate it to my own experience. And in this case, I want to do that kind of in an interesting way. So the industry has definitely been bombarded by AI insurtechs for the last year and a half, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the tip of the spear of that because I interview you guys. So all of a
Yeah,
sudden,
yeah,
my podcast went from interviewing a variety of insurtechs to interviewing AI companies because everybody nowadays, every insurtech now claims to be an AI company. And I'm a non-technical guy, so it's hard for me to differentiate between
yeah.
truly an AI company and little more than a API call to ChatGPT. Now, myself, in
Yeah,
I'm a techie. In
yeah,
2023, I played with ChatGPT a little bit, and then I didn't touch it at all in all of 2024, which is
yeah,
interesting, right? It kind of
yeah,
disappointed me in 23, and so I moved on. This year, I jumped back and in the last couple of months, and I'm so impressed with what it can do now. Okay,
mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and I want to give you a specific example, then I'll explain why. Okay,
Yeah,
so I wrote a book 8 years ago called Insuring Tomorrow: How to Engage Millennials in the Insurance Industry. Wrote it the old-fashioned way, right? And I promised that it would have two sequels: the Career Guide to Insurance and the How to Engage and Retain Gen Z in Insurance. And I even said to the trade media, I was quoted as saying that those two books would come out one a year in the next couple of years. So one of them in 2018, one of them in 2019. And then I proceeded, the career book, I proceeded to make a bunch of career videos instead for the YouTube channel and never write the book. And the Gen Z book, I have gone through 5 different Gen Z co-authors and have not been able to get it to, like, literally, like, no progress. Okay. Finally, I have a project manager who's holding me to account. So yesterday, I owed the editor and project manager chapter 1. And in a full panic, after procrastinating this project for 8 years, I went to ChatGPT, created a new project.
Yeah.
I uploaded my old book.
Yeah.
And I told ChatGPT, and I uploaded a conversation with the editor, right? The AI notes from that conversation. And I told ChatGPT, okay, it is time to, here's my old book. There's time to write the new one, the Gen Z version. And it guided me through it. And in 20 minutes, I had both the table of contents and the first chapter. And then I just went through the first chapter and made sure I was the human in the loop for the first chapter, right? Made sure that it was in my own voice, corrected some things, etc., etc. That is with the $25 a month version of ChatGPT. That is what it can do today, right? Among crazy million other things. Applied to insurance, and there are so many companies that are applying it to insurance, right? If I'm not mistaken, you guys are the broadest of those. So the broadest that I've seen, where you're targeting like every freaking workflow. Most of them are targeting like this little piece of claims or this little piece of underwriting kind of thing. You guys are going broad, or am I misreading that?
I have a different way of framing that, but you're right.
Yes.
You're right.
So the point that I wanted to make for the listeners is, yes, chances are you are not an AI person. That's why you work in insurance, okay? I just want you to be aware, listener, that what AI can do today is a worlds better than what AI could do last year, okay? So taking that into account, it might be time to take another look at what it can do. So Further, how does Further take it further? What can Further do for us today, and what will it be able to do as we go forward?
Awesome, Torino. Thank you so much for sharing that. And let me break it into 3 parts. The first part, you mentioned that every company is an AI company. And a funny thing happened this weekend. I was calling my grandmother and I was having a chat with her. And she jokingly said that, Aman, I've started using AI. And I was like, okay, interesting. She's old. Like, she's 85 plus. So like, what are you using AI for? She's like, whenever I have questions, I ask it. It's like, show me. Then she mentioned that for her, like AI stands for Aman's intelligence. So whenever she has a question, she calls me. I was like, okay, that's cool. Awesome. I have nothing to say on top of that. So AI stands for different things for different people, and it could be a wrapper on top of what you were doing before, and just like a lot of crypto companies just pivoted to AI companies overnight. All of that happened. But the proof is in the pudding. Like, if you think about FurtherAI, it's like my background has been in AI for about a decade now. Started my career at Microsoft, then built a company in AI for recruiting 4.5 years. For 4.5 years, had a decent exit from it. Now, that gave me a lot of exposure to how AI should be used to solve practical problems. So AI is just a technology. At the end of the day, it's about solving what problems we are solving and so on and so forth. And what ROI it can drive. Like, yeah, we can start a conversation by saying we do AI, but at the end of the day, a decision maker on the other side would want to know, okay, what does it mean to me? And the fundamental equation of business remains the same. Like, every business is about, like, on the financial side of things, is about profits equals revenue minus cost. So is it reducing cost? Is it increasing my profits? It is reducing my risk, and so on and so forth. And if you think fundamentally from that, then you would think very differently about broad versus narrow. Because if you go, and it's more of an outsider looking in perspective as well, insurance value chain evolved over a course of time.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But initially, it's supposed to mean that I'm the insurer, you're the insured. Here is a document which says that you pay me premiums, I'll settle your claims.
And it's ultimately a promise.
That's all, right?
Yes.
Now, over time, the distribution evolved, the underwriting evolved, the risk landscape evolved, data evolved, and so on. But we did not have any past biases about insurance. We looked at it, okay, if this is the fundamental principle, it applies across the value chain. There is a broker, which is representing the client interest, processing the submission. There's an underwriter that's processing the same submission. There is a policy admin person that's processing the policy that is written on top of that submission.
Mm-hmm.
There's a compliance team processing the same thing. So there are 4 or 5 fundamental pieces of documents which drive the entire industry, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
There is a policy form, there are record forms, there is an SOV, there is an loss history, and so on. These documents are across the industry. And now, if you have an AI that can fundamentally understand these documents, you can solve many different problems.
Absolutely.
Across the board, and you become more valuable to companies across the board if you can solve multiple problems. Let me give an example. So we work with many MGAs now for their submissions processing. And on the other hand, we work with a capacity provider for audit. But now what's happening is when MGAs can see that, interesting. Can we not use the audit tool even when we are writing the policy? Like, you can. So that thing that was used by capacity provider now makes it more valuable for the MGAs as well. So in that context, Tony, right, like just completing the loop, AI doesn't stand for Aman's intelligence. It's just like my grandmother said, but possibly understands for amplified intelligence. The example that you gave about you being able to write a book in a matter of like hours and not days.
8 years. I've procrastinated this thing for 8 years. And
Yeah.
And I'm being super careful that the quality is very important, right? This is not one of those like little ebooks that organizations use to for business development. No, the book is the final product, and my brand is the most valuable thing I have.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm being super careful with it. It definitely got me going. It could have written the whole book. It wouldn't have been as high quality as me doing it, but it's definitely making it so that I can write the book probably in a few weeks rather than 5 years of research and 90 days of concentrated writing like the last one.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where sort of it's going to impact all of us across the board, right? Now, we are just thinking insurance. If you think about OpenAI, they are thinking even bigger.
Much bigger, yes.
Much bigger. Now, I'm no Sam Altman. I'm maybe half as smart as him. And I'm maybe half as ambitious as him. But across insurance, if you think fundamentally, if you think from first principles, it makes sense to go broad, as the term goes, or to another term could be more holistic.
It is rare to go broad in at least the insurtechs that I run into, right? It doesn't seem that there's many that are broad.
Yeah, I think people take a very point solution approach. I did the same in my first company.
Okay.
There are merit of it, there are demerit of it, but if you can create a flywheel going where each components is sort of feeding off each other and creating more value overall, that ends up being really nice. And that's what's happening with FurtherAI as well, that by helping brokers with processing submission, by helping MGAs by processing submission, we understand and make the AI much more better for audit and vice versa.
would a Mac comparison be a fair comparison? Let me explain that. Okay, so
Yeah.
so I'm a nerd. I grew up on Windows. And
Mhm.
and to my right, I have a Windows gaming PC that I built myself with my own hands. And then in front of me, I have my Mac work computer, which is a very, very nice Mac, great for
Mhm.
video editing, great for day-to-day work. Um, I'm an iPhone guy. I'm an iPad guy. But I didn't grow up on those. Little by little, I transitioned to those because they just work, and the walled garden approach is so beautifully integrated
Yeah.
that over time, even though it's more expensive, even though they don't last as long, it has many problems. Uh, it is just a pleasure to use, and it just works. And my gaming computer, I spend more time diagnosing problems than I do playing games.
Yeah. Yeah.
My and I have the patience to do that, right? So would it be fair to say that having all of the components completely integrated because they are made in the same ecosystem
Yeah.
should result in a Mac life like experience for the user?
Couldn't have said that better, Tony.
Beautiful.
It's like bang on. I'll see also more of the business perspective of it as well, right? If you think from an insurance company's point of view, if I am buying software, while I want to start with one use case, but once I know that that use case was successful, these guys could do it, I would want to go to the second one, and then the third one, and the fourth one, and so on. Because you won't want your data to be in 100 different softwares in 100 different places for 100 different use cases. That was
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I think personally slowed the industry down, where you have to have these point solutions. That's where a approach of a compound AI approach works much better than a point AI approach, and that's where we
And
differ.
I want to take a wild guess that the reason we're seeing a lot more point solutions is because they're a lot easier to build than a broader one.
Yeah, that's it's harder to build. You have to do things the hard way in the beginning, because you have to sort of visualize a lot of things at once, see how each of these things work together, how expanded it could be, and so on. So, a lot of first time founders, it might be too overwhelming to think of a compound AI system. Uh, Having done it once really helps me, and helps me bring that knowledge to the industry. And yeah, that's our unique approach as well, unique edge to, and so on.
Yeah. So right now, already ready for prime time. The focus is on the MGA side.
That's where we have seen a lot of success.
Okay.
And but we do have fronting carriers, risk exchanges, some of the big ones. We do have carriers working with us. We are now also working with some of the brokers, large ones, large brokers as well, who wants to use AI to like add more operational efficiencies and unlock the things that were not possible before. Like imagine this simple example, Tony, in the um excess liability world. If you receive an excess liability submission, previously there was no way for you to analyze the entire tower without having to have spent hours and hours of time on it. But now you can just have the AI ingest the tower and go to the depth of it and answer questions that, okay, Berkshire is the primary. The rate on line on the first layer is 80% of the primary, and so on and so forth. So it's almost magic. This is the unlock, right? It's not just cost reduction, but things that were not possible before. And it's going to be magical for insurance primarily, Tony, because, oh, wow.
Almost magical. You said the magic word. Continue.
Yeah. Especially for insurance, because I feel that insurance is not the market which is saturated. There are a few markets that are saturated, which will be slow to move and so on. Insurance, like I heard this from a very senior executive. They said that less than 10% of globally insurable risk is actually insured, which means that more than 90% is like untapped. And it's not because it's uninsurable, it's because it was not possible to reach it before.
Yes. So that is a big topic, a big
Yeah.
topic, and even in the U.S., probably the best insured market in the world. we still have a significant insurance gap. And
Mhm.
and part of the problem is that the traditional way that insurance has been done is not very efficient. The traditional way that it's been distributed is not very efficient. And by the way, do not misinterpret that to the agent and brokers going away. Not at all.
Not at all.
Um,
Yeah.
it's more like different segments of the business. It's like the oil thing where and I'm not involved in the oil business, so I might be misquoting this, but basically, like it's not that we ran out of oil or that we're in the process of. It's that we had gotten to the point where getting to the oil we had was very very expensive. Then the fracking this advancements made it cost effective again to get to that oil that was expensive to get to before. I think it's similar. It's a matter of the traditional way of doing insurance was too expensive, too inefficient to reach certain parts of the market, and especially outside of the US and developing world, in Latin America. Absolutely. For example, the more efficient we get, we're not running out of things to insure uh, at all, for sure.
So let me say one more thing on top of
Mm-hmm.
that, Tony, because it relates to what you said, like what's possible with further AI in maybe maybe end of this year, right? That's an
Okay.
interesting question we could ask ourselves. But before that, what's fundamentally changed in the world, which is going to be so impactful for insurance, is a simple fact that AI can now understand English. And a policy form consists of English. So it can understand, if fine-tuned well, what is a coverage, what is an exclusion. It can highlight all the coverages and exclusions very, very well. That's the fundamental change. It's not the distribution. It's not like people will still remain, because at the end of the day, if I'm buying a policy, I'll buy it from a broker. I wouldn't, especially for a business where their stakes are high and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not changing. What's changing is the underlying like building blocks on top of which things are built, which will maybe more programs can get created. Like one of the things that I think a lot about is, can by the end of the year, an AI create a new program altogether, like a specialized program for a specialized market for a specialized risk? Can AI do that? All of that automatically filed with the regulators and get that program approved? I feel it's possible.
That would be quite impressive. You should if one of your clients uses your software to do that, make sure you document it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
documentary style documented because
exactly,
that
right?
is freaking cool.
Yeah, we're exploring that documentary style documentary for that particular task with one of the clients. But uh, yeah, that's where it's headed, and that will fundamentally change insurance as an industry. Where yeah, more deals will happen, better deals will happen faster, and so on. Because I really 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 believe, Tony. I said really three times. I'll say it one more time. I really believe that insurance was not slow to adopt technology. Technology was not there to solve core needs of insurance.
I agree with that. Absolutely. Right now, uh, you can address underwriting, claims, compliance, basically. Um, and within those three verticals, you
Mm-hmm.
can address at this point, what was it, a couple hundred processes?
No, not a couple of hundred
Okay.
processes. We are live with 12 workflows now.
12 workflows is the word. Okay. So 12 workflows.
Yeah.
But where will this be, let's say a year from now, 2 years from now?
The goal is to get to like 100 plus by the end of like maybe 2020, like mid of 2026.
And
So
how many workflows have you identified that make the industry run?
I have a long list on my end.
Okay. Okay.
I so far we are at 167. in that list. So
Okay, perfect. So you're at 12 out of 167, but the point that I'm trying to make for the listener, because even for me as a techie who interviews insurtechs freaking every day of the week, Monday through Friday, um, it is hard to get my head around. Humans are not good about thinking exponentially, right? Um, and I said for many years that if AI hit the exponential curve that computing hit in the personal computing hit in the 80s, and then mobile computing hit in the 2010s, uh, and then insert prediction here of what would happen. Uh, we've hit that exponential curve, right?
yeah, you did.
And change is now happening incredibly fast,
Mhm.
and it is very hard to catch up, if not impossible to catch up,
Yeah.
if you fall behind on this. So
Mhm.
insurance executives, insurance companies have a strong tendency. They think of themselves, or they describe themselves as fast followers,
Mhm.
and they're not. they're,
Mhm.
most of them are laggards. Um, so basically, dear insurance executives, quite simply, the time is now. In fact, the time was last year, right? That to really start digging into completely redoing your tech stack with the new available technologies. And I'm so glad that I'm not a decision maker that has to write the checks on these things, because it's risky, right? Um, but for sure, the time is here to make those choices. Um, where do you envision that that further will be, let's say, 5 years down the road?
Yeah. Before that, I just addressing one
Perfect.
point. From the insurance executive point of view, I really feel that insurance is not slowly adopting AI, and in this AI wave, it's actually there was a case study by OpenAI that it's the second fastest growing industry in AI adoption.
Fantastic.
So it's fascinating that the industry is like changing its own outlook towards adoption, and I really feel that it's because AI is not going to be making 20% efficiency gains, it's creating 80% efficiency gains. Like that's the difference. It's a delta, fundamental difference between the magnitude of things here, Tony. The second part you asked about is where would further AI be in 5 years? Um, so I have a chip on my shoulder. It'd be interesting if I start wearing a literal chip on my shoulder.
Uh-huh.
My first company was not super successful. We grew to 1 million and few millions and ARR in like 4 years' time. I want to change that.
Okay.
We want further AI to go public in 5 years with the team that we are building. Hopefully, everybody gets to go on the NASDAQ floor, ring the bell, and have a memory of their lifetime.
No kidding. No kidding. Uh,
But we are
what
working
was
with
it?
now. Yeah.
What was it the first go around? Like what was it? What was it that didn't work, and you have now learned the lesson and are doing it differently?
We are slightly early in the market for the problem we are solving. So the problem we are solving is if a large company like a Bank of America or a DHL have large volumes of resume, but for every new job, they would have to hunt through, maybe like post the job online and so on and so forth. But wouldn't it be nice if they could just look at in their resume database? Imagine, Tony, with you, right? You run a recruiting company.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be nice if you can just index all of your resume and candidates in a GPT, and you can ask questions whenever there is a job opening, who would be the right fit and why?
It would be amazing, yes.
We were doing that 5 years back. But again, 5 years back, there was no GPT, there was no uh, LLMs. So we were building everything from grounds up. I remember writing like the resume parsing code in Java and then building a search engine on it. It was difficult. So that we were slightly early in terms of what we were doing at that point in time.
Okay. Okay, so you had a successful exit. Um, this time you're trying to do it even better. I'm always curious on the origin story. So you could have applied what you learned at Microsoft and at your first startup in any industry. Why insurance?
Yeah, we get asked that
Of course.
very often. And interestingly, Tony, if I had $1 for every time I guys ask this question, we would not need a Series A. But in terms of how this happened, it was part luck, part science. When we were at part of Y Combinator, we're thinking through what are the industries that will get fundamentally changed. And the premise was the industries that have a lot of unstructured data. Things are represented in PDF,
We
Excels, and
certainly have all of that.
right. So we looked at legal, we looked at mortgage, we looked at insurance as industries. And funnily, there's one time I remember it very vividly. We were outsiders to most industries. Tony, I had done recruiting AI before. My co-founder had done, like, he built Siri at Apple, so extremely smart individual. So if you're using iPhone, you're using the code written by him.
Mhm.
Uh, but we were outsiders to most industries, so we actually took a box of donuts and drove around the Bay Area, uh, literally sort of knocking the doors. And we visited various agencies that were around the Bay Area. People were kind, like people gave us time, people showed the workflows, where they are stuck, what help do they need, and so on. And you're like, okay, we can solve these problems. And people seem to like us, and the industry likes to seems to like us. So there was like a natural founder market fit. That's
Okay. Uh-huh.
there, not in the traditional sense of founder market fit, where it's about, hey, I have 20 years of experience in insurance. That's why there's a founder market fit. It's more about people like talking to us. We wanted to partner with an industry and sort of do it more deeply than trying to be working across industries. Um, that simply just worked, simply clicked. And then one thing led to the other. We had some really good people who were generous to give their time. In the early days, like Jozak was one, Bill Mecklenburg from Alliant was another, and so on. And that really shaped the way we think about insurance, that shaped the way we built the product. And fast forward to today, it's been fascinating, right? Uh, so yeah, that's why
Fantastic.
insurance, like, great
Um,
opportunity, people, and I think the next decade is going to redefine insurance the way we know it, and for good.
for now, who
Yeah,
who are the perfect clients for you guys? I know there's a term in startup terminology.
ICP, ideal
Yes.
customer
Who are
partner.
the like who are the ideal client
Yeah, so
profiles for you?
MGAs and MGUs are great uh, clients for us right now, especially in when if they are in the 30 to 300 GWP, because that's where you have a lots of volumes of data coming in that you have to process and underwrite and manage and so on. So that's a very good ICP for us, Tony.
All right, all right. After the MGAs, are you going to the carrier, especially like large carrier space?
Yeah, so we already work with one of the top three global insurer. Um, we work with one of the regional insurers in Ohio and a few more. We work with Accelerant as well, uh, and so on. So yeah, we are in the
Right.
that market too. But right now we are prioritizing speed. So ICP is like where we are able to close really quickly, really fast, and enjoying that. So that's where the MGMG market is a perfect fit.
Fantastic. And this is usually one of my first questions. It's one of my last today. What is the implementation like? So we do a demo, we see what
Yeah,
you guys are doing, and we'd love to bring this in. What is the
yeah.
implementation like?
Do you want me to show you?
Yes, absolutely.
Because often people get surprised by when they hear that the implementation could be as quick as this. So we meet today, we understand what use case you have in mind, we sign the NDA, you send us, like, set up a time for a quick process overview. We understand the process, give you the pricing, we set up the pilot in the next 1 week, you can text in the next week, and we are live. So within 25 days, you're live with
25
an
days.
AI workflow. And 25 is a stretch because I'm just putting 3 days for NDA. Usually there is no time for NDA. We can just sign your template. And if we can go back and forth quickly, it could be less than 3 weeks. So that's the difference in which if you are building compound SaaS, you can build it in a way that it's low lift for the end user. You don't have to do anything very clearly, apart from just giving one 30-minute overview of the current processes.
So did I understand this correctly? There is no lift for my IT team.
So usually MGAs and MGUs don't have a big IT team.
Okay.
Right. So we do have the security and compliance like SOC 2, GDPR, ISO, and things like that. So that we do have to go through, especially in the carrier side of things. There is a procurement, and IT get involved, and so on. So this was the mutual action plan for MGAs and MGUs, or ICP.
Fantastic. What is the pricing philosophy?
Pricing philosophy is to ensure that we generate at least 5x of the ROI for the customers. But if you break it down into sub pieces of it, we don't charge as percentage of premiums because I feel that's foolish.
Okay.
For us to command premiums where our clients are working hard to get that premium, and just by automating one process, we are asking for a fraction of it. Doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It doesn't scale beyond one process. Let's say underwriting, it does not scale to claims. It does not scale to
That is very true.
and so on. So we don't do that. We don't charge based on user license fee as well. We feel that's also stupid because the goal is for everybody to use it and get the most value.
Uh-huh.
So the way we charge it is usage based. How much you're using the platform and the AI for different tasks. That aligns incentive really well, because if a company is adopting FurtherAI for their submissions processing or policy comparison or underwriting audit, they get value when it gets used. So it aligns incentive on our side. Now we want them to use it so that they get value and we get value.
That makes perfect sense.
That's the approach that we have been taking, and people like that. People really like that.
Perfect. Aman, a real pleasure to have you on the show. I'm always telling people look forward to have you back in a year or two. Maybe with a client. And definitely true in your case. Love to have you back once you're fairly widely deployed.
Mm-hmm.
And see right when you've gone from 12 to 120 processes or workflows.
Absolutely, yeah. So you spoke about compounding. You spoke about the exponential growth, right? So we were one workflow in Q4. We were two in January this year. We got to 4 in February. We got to 8 in March, and where we are at 12 right now in May. So it's compounding that way. So hopefully,
fantastic.
That keeps going.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time today. And yeah, also awesome stuff.
Likewise, Ani. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Yeah.